I never thought about being a comedian a day in my life. It just kind of just happened. And then over time, I've seen how obsessed I am with laughter. Like I just really enjoy people laughing, and it don't even have to be me making them laugh. Just people laughing. Like I could be watching an interview or a podcast or a show or whatever, and if there's people laughing about something, I will keep like replaying that scene over and over, just to watch each individual person. Like, how did they laugh? When did they laugh? When did the joke hit them? You know what I'm saying? Like but I didn't know I was doing that until I recognized it. So I say that to say I didn't know that growing up, but I did discover that once football was already over with, though. You know?
Okay. Because I remember when I was living in Jacksonville, you had the, inspirational mornings, the wake up and all that. And I remember the one time you were at New Beginning and you preached. I think it was Youth Sunday. And I, definitely saw preaching, in your future. Did you ever?
I mean, I honestly feel like I still preach now. I just do it from
in a different way.
Because I'm such. What's up, Kellie? I'm Kellie. Do you know Jenaye?
I do not know Jenaye. Hi, Jenaye.
Hi.
I'm Kellie.
Nice to meet you, Kellie.
Nice to meet you.
Kellie is in the royal Lee lineage. Berean. Berean, the church Berean. Yeah, that's her people. She's the daughter.
Okay, she's the daughter of.
Yeah. She's in the royalty.
Pastor Kevin was the youth pastor when we was younger.
Exactly, and I remember that.
That's that one.
That's his daughter.
Oh,
So bow down when she enters the room.
Right. It's a pleasure and an honor to meet you, Kellie.
You thought we were waiting because she was late, but she actually had a ceremony before.
Oh, wow. So this is the preacher episode.
I cannot.
Got it.
Not at all.
We didn't go live until you came on.
I apologize for my tardiness. Not at all. Not at all.
Hilarious. I called Terry and hit him up in the group chat. He didn't respond either way. So we're gonna pray that he's alive, but I don't know if he's gonna make it. So, either way, we're gonna.
He liked your message earlier.
He did. But Terry might be asleep. Ain't no telling. You know what I'm saying? If he pops up, we'll let him in. So either way, let's get this party started. Jenaye, have you ever watched this podcast before?
I have not. Now, okay, I will be honest, Janessa did send me a link. I think I looked at it. It was kind of late when I did see it. And so I didn't want to wake my daughter up. So I think I kind of just watched it. And I did catch a snippet. It was a young lady on, and she was talking about how often her dad would have to go to prayer meetings, conferences, and go pray for people at the hospital. And she would be honest with herself to say that she was jealous. She was jealous about the time that he would give to others and not to his family.
That was Kellie, wasn't it? Kellie, that was you.
No, that was your friend.
That was
okay.
Oh, I'm like, that sounds like Kellie's story.
Oh, really? No, I don't think it was her face. I kind of remember what the girl looked like. But I don't remember.
That was so you sent her the
Mariah.
Yes, Mariah. Yeah.
Mariah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No,
I snippet, and that was it.
Well, no. Yeah, I wasn't trying to put you to the test or nothing.
It's Glory in me. I'm
we just had a trigger word that we always say before we start the intro, and I was going to have you say it, but
okay.
If I tell you the word, then I'm going to have to start the intro. So, because once the word is said, it's said.
Okay, true. Okay, got it. You can't message me with it. It's cool. All right.
The word.
Oh dang! I tried to send it to her.
Did you send it to me?
I did, but it's not spelled right. Try your best.
Is it?
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Worst Ones podcast. This is the safe place for us preachers' kids to come be ourselves and continue to disappoint our preacher parents. My name is Rudy Wilson. I am one of your hosts. Kellie, I'm not in front of the background.
I appreciate it. I was trying to look and see what big headphones. I didn't see.
I changed it. Before you start fussing at me.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Kellie Leesy's in the building. Jay Rihanna is in the building. And we do have a special guest here that we will get to in just a second before I bring you in. Special guest, Kellie. Royalty, how are you doing?
I can't. I'm doing amazing. I would actually like to go back and say, can we cut out the clip right when Jenaye said boom shakalaka? Like our face was all like, she said it. Like still.
I got you.
Of that on her promo. Like got you. No, I'm doing well. No complaints. You know, Atlanta traffic is a little crazy, so I didn't prepare for that today. But no, other than that, I'm doing well. 2 days left until spring break, so I'm off all next week. So looking forward to that.
Gotcha.
Good times ahead.
Good times ahead. All righty. Janessa Rowland, how art thou?
I'm good, minus my broken toe.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
What happened to your toe?
It's a little embarrassing, but I'll tell you. So I thought a bug was crawling on me, and I have an extreme fear of bugs, y'all. And so the force that I ran with was, it was up there. And so I ran right into my bedpost and broke my toe. But the kicker though is that it wasn't a bug, guys. It was some crochet hair. Because I had just put this install in and I had just cut it. And a little piece had like slid in between my shirt. So when I glanced back and saw this black piece, I really thought it was a bug, y'all. And so I took off just to find out though. I broke my toe over some crochet hair, y'all.
I saw the Facebook story, but I didn't know what happened.
Yeah. So now I'm in a boot for 6 weeks. I can't play kickball. And I was telling Rudy, I was so sad because before I went to urgent care on Saturday, I broke it on Thursday, but I didn't know it at the time. It just wasn't getting better. Like the morning before, my cleats came in, my extra kickball, the pump. I had bought my uniform and no more kickball.
Got to be more careful.
Yeah. And is that the whole season? How long is the kickball season?
It's the whole spring season, because when I asked the doctor about it, she was like, well, when's the first game? And I said April 24th. And she was like, oh, that's 4 weeks from now. She was like, yeah, no, you can't play. She was like 6 weeks. 6 weeks. So it would be the middle of the season, but I need practice because remember, this is my first time playing since the 4th grade, y'all. So
wow. Got you.
We need a little conditioning and practice, some hand-eye coordination, some catching, like all of it.
So what are you going to do? Like, you going to quit kickball?
For this season, yeah. I told him I wasn't. I mean, I told him, but like I legit can't play. I took off this whole week, so that I could sit down. Mm-hmm. But that's not going well either, y'all. I did stuff for the garden and rearranged.
Which toe was it?
So it's the bone that connects to my pinky toe.
Also, it wasn't even the toe.
It's really the foot. It's like some, don't ask me the name, but it's some bone that connects to the pinky toe.
Your lateral sizes.
All right. I'm all right.
Right.
All for a piece of hair.
Everybody.
I know.
But it's cute.
Put your hands towards the camera.
Fix it, Lord. You a healer.
Speedy recovery.
You're right.
All right. Well, I'm doing fine, guys. I don't be having no big stories. So let's move on to our guest. Proud to have her, glad to have her. I'm honestly ashamed that I didn't think of her first as a guest. So kudos to you, Janessa.
Thank you.
I'm
your real friend, girl.
Shout out to you.
Don't throw shade. Now I got the power to get you out of this podcast.
Rudy.
I won't use my powers. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we got the homie here. Known her since I would imagine at least 10 years older, younger, something like that. And we're in our early 30s, so you guys do the math. Very, very proud of her. Very, very successful young woman, young Black woman out here in these Atlanta streets. And we are going to talk to her today. And she is also a fellow PK. Glad to have her. Please, everybody, give a round of applause and give it up for our special guest, Miss Attorney Jenaye Peterson. Jenaye, what's popping? Talk to us. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you guys for having me on. Janessa, thank you for thinking of me. I just knew it was Rudy.
Oh, wow.
No, ma'am.
It's all good. It's all good. But I have been well. I mean, you guys tell me where to start. I don't know how this goes. I don't know what questions are going to be asked. So I don't want to just spill everything because I'm a now.
Well, for right, I mean, I got you. We are definitely going to give you plenty of room to talk. For now, you can start off with just how you doing in general. How was, just your family? How are you?
I'm doing great. This week I celebrate 2 years of being in business. So I started in a pandemic.
All right.
Hey, started in the pandemic. That's beautiful.
Yes, I started in the pandemic and I actually launched on April 1st. So that's Friday. So April Fool's Day.
Wow.
When you would have thought it was foolish during the pandemic, the only fool day was the enemy.
Wow.
So,
hey, okay.
Because I'm like, I couldn't say it when I first started because I didn't know what was going to happen. I can totally say it, you know what I'm saying? But so this week has been great. I'm looking forward to leaving for Destin, Florida, Friday to Monday. And some water to, relax and, spend some time in the sun with my family. So yeah, all is well. All is really well.
Gotcha. So talk to us about that. I know. So I mean, the last time I seen you, definitely weren't married with a child and all this good thing. So
This is true.
So how did all this happen?
So okay. So I actually met my husband 4 months before leaving for Jacksonville. So
really,
So when me and Rudy reconnected, and he was in Jacksonville, and we were going to McKissick's church right there. I had just met my husband, and we actually met. I sing, of course, and he plays keys. So we met at a church, and then he came and started playing keys at my parents' church. And we just really hit it off. And so when I went away for law school, actually before I went away for law school, he had asked me to stay back, take a year off, and maybe try to apply to some schools here. And I was like, that's very enticing because I'm very close to my family. I've never been away from them. I actually want to stay here. But my acceptance were into schools that were out of state. So I told him politely, I can put my money on me. I can't put my money on us. And so because this is a new thing, I got to follow my dreams because this dream was before you. And I was like,
wow.
Okay. And when you're on cloud 9 and you're in a new relationship, you kind of make certain sacrifices. But for me, I feel like you have to be somewhat selfish with your dreams and your goals because you can't put your money on a relationship. You can only account for yourself. And so I told him basically if it's meant to be, it'll be. You can come and visit me. And so I left, and he's from Florida, so he thought perfect. She's in Florida. He had a cousin that lived in Jacksonville, but when I upped and left, and I went to North Carolina, it was a little bit more difficult for us. So nonetheless, he started coming every 2 weeks. I would say the first year was kind of a struggle for him because he's 6 years older than I am, so he's in a full adult. I was still fairly young. He had been married before, so he was kind of ready to start life over. So he was in his feelings the first year, and then after that, he got over himself, started coming every 2 weeks to come visit me. And after I got back, studied for the bar, passed the bar, all within the same year of graduation, he proposed the following year, that March. So we had a 2-year engagement. 4 months later, I was pregnant. Not a part of the plan. But what happened, I wanted 1 year of marital bliss. But I got pregnant. People always laugh and say, "You did. You had 1 year," because she came in January. I'm like, no. So I had my daughter, and I'm expecting my second and final. And
congratulations!
Hey, we done got an exclusive. Hey, look at that.
I have not, posted that anywhere, done anything.
Congratulations!
My first trimester this week, so they say that's the safe time to say things. But I've been pretty good and clear with telling people for the past 2 weeks. But yes, you did get an exclusive. So last and final.
Congratulations!
You're our first baby announcement.
Right.
Oh. So
we'll have to get a worse one's onesie made and send it to
you. Yeah. I would love that. I would definitely.
Now, Janessa, you done said it. Now you got to do
now
it.
Now she got to do it.
Right.
But Rudy, I'm the one who would do it.
Right. I believe that you will.
Okay. I'm the one who would do it.
So yeah.
That's awesome. So how old is your daughter?
My daughter is 3, so she just turned 3 in January.
Awesome.
So yeah, so decent gap. She's not in diapers. They'll be technically quite 4.5 years apart by the time the baby is 1.
Gotcha.
So she'll be going to school, and then I'll have 1 fully in the house. So it works out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it works out.
That is awesome. Congratulations! I'm glad to see
that worked
out. Yeah. And congrats even to your husband. He stood in the paint strong through all your little moving and stuff, chasing.
Oh yeah, right. It wasn't easy, but hey, yeah. Nonetheless, he did. He stuck it out.
Yeah. No, that's facts. That's facts. So tell us about 2 things. I want you to end with telling us about this business that you've started, but tell us, I guess, an abbreviated version of the journey that it took to get there. Like after you graduated law school, okay. And then
So, like we were talking about earlier before we went live, of course, the way that my career kind of kicked off after law school was not the way that I envisioned it either. Mm-hmm. I wanted to work for a small to mid-sized law firm. And then I knew eventually open my firm, but not within the first, I would say honestly, not within the first 3 to 5 years. That wasn't my goal. God saw otherwise. But of course, the way that he orchestrated my footsteps could not have been more perfect. So after graduating, I actually was interning I was interning at a law firm, but I had 2 internships. So I was interning at a law firm, but I also was clerking for a judge. So very prestigious type of internship to have. So I was like, oh, this is the best of both worlds. I get to see inner workings.
Can I stop you for once? What does clerking for a judge mean?
So clerking basically means I'm like the judge's assistant, but law clerks have to be graduates of a law school. So I'm like the superior type administrative versus a regular everyday administrative. Gotcha. So I do all of the legal stuff. So I do all the research for the judge. If she has a question about an issue on a case, I do all of that. I present the case law to her. Whenever the case is finalized, she needs to make a decision on the case. I do all of the writing, the drafting. She reviews it, and then she sends it to the attorneys to have as the final order for the court.
Wow. So can we get a timeline? So years you graduated from law school.
Yeah, I'm glad you did. I graduated in law school because we were talking about this earlier too. I graduated law school in 2015.
Okay.
I packed up everything right after graduation, moved back home the same weekend. Studied for the bar for about a month and a half. So you take the bar in July. So I graduated in May. So I studied for the bar and I took the bar in July. Passed the first time. So God be the glory. Yes. And my motto was 1 and done. And after I passed the bar, you have to wait 3 months to get your results, by the way. So you're just kind of in limbo. So I was interning. I had both of those internships going for me at the same time.
There got to be some tension. I'm just thinking 3 months.
It's disrespectful. It's really disrespectful because I went to law school in North Carolina. So my friends who I went to law school with, they had their results way before me because I think North Carolina is a month or a month and a half. So I'm like, oof, the pressure. All my friends said that I was waiting.
And so when you said reading and writing, I was just like,
It's a lot.
That's not my ministry.
It's a whole lot. And the year that I actually passed the bar, there was a glitch in the system. So people who actually passed were told they didn't pass.
I think I heard about that.
It was the first year that they were actually sued because people had like, prestigious jobs that they couldn't take on because they didn't pass the bar. Like
wow.
that was
they actually did.
So yeah, so I was so grateful. I was not in that number. My study partner was in the number. They were able, so they were able to sue for damages and things.
You sure yours didn't glitch the opposite way? You actually
no, it wasn't that kind of glitch. It was the other way around. You did pay.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Try me because I graduated from one. Come on, credentials.
Rudy, this is not what you want today.
It's not what you want. I'm just saying, 3 girls against the guy.
I was saying, Kellie and Jenaye, this is not what you want.
Wait, we got one more day in Women's History Month. We got one more day.
This is not what you want.
So after passing the bar, then that's when I got an official offer to work at the firm that I was interning at. And the clerkship job, I think, they wanted me to take it on, but they weren't offering a lot of money. And I felt like the experience that I had, was like, good enough. And I always, like I said, wanted to work for a firm. So I was working there, and sad story, it was a family friend. So his wife and I were very close. He had his own firm, but he actually died in a one-car accident.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, everything was pretty much shut down. I left like right before all of that kind of took place. So yeah, after that, my father actually put me in touch with a young lady who was like maybe 2 years older than me. She had started her firm, and she and I went to lunch. We hit it off, and I actually started basically bringing cases under her firm. So because I have connections here, my dad, he's a chaplain, also a pastor, very well connected. I started to kind of form my business, but not enough to start my own practice, but independently contract with the firm. So I wear their name, bring all my clients under their firm. At the same time, doing what they call doc review. I call it warehouse work for lawyers. No offense, but that's just what I call it. So basically, you work up to 40 hours, however you want to make those hours, work. They don't tell you when to come in, come out. You just have to basically work those hours. But you're looking at a screen all day long, and you're basically doing like what they call discovery for big firms. And I'm just like, I'm not made for this. Like people were coming, I was the exciting thing in the room. Like, how's that case going there? But I'm like, they here at 8, they leave at 6. And so I just knew that wasn't going to be for me long term. Janessa, you was going to say something?
I have a question. Did you ever watch Suits, the TV show?
No, but I've heard about it. I need to watch one episode. So many people have told me about it. Oh,
it's so good, but it's reflective of what you're saying. That's why I was like, wow, it's really like that?
Like what I just call warehouse work for attorneys?
Yeah, like discovery and how they'll be there. It'll be like, we have this case and we'll be here all night. And then they'll like order food and they'll just be in the bullpen.
So when you look at it, there are big firms who do their own discovery in-house. But then there are like the really big firms that basically outsource all of that to the companies that company I used to work for. So these people are hired just to come there and basically mark X on certain things that have certain words or whatever. So I'm like, Lord Jesus, I know I'm not cut out for this. Like I didn't graduate law school to do this. But I was just trying to figure things out. And I also knew that I didn't want to work 80-hour weeks, billable hours, and not enjoy the fruits of my labor, enjoy my family. I feel like I've worked hard. I've been in school for 14 plus years. I don't want to be tied to a desk, So working for the young lady, basically, wearing her name, independent, not really working for her, gave me the flexibility and the freedom that I always wanted. But it was hard to kind of get my footing because I'm new, you know what I mean? I don't really know a lot of chiropractors. So I kind of had to start, shaking hands, going to networking events. And all of a sudden, it just started working out for me. I started getting referrals from this chiropractor. I started letting people know I was out, on my own, doing my own thing. Hey, they charge you 33 and 3rd. I'll charge 30%. And then I get a good job with them. And then they tell their friend and family, family members. And that's just how my practice has built to this day. Really worked out.
What kind of practice do you do? What type of cases?
So my bread and butter is personal injury. So that's, of course, car accident cases. And then I also do expungement. So I help people clean up their records. basically giving them a second chance at life.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do small business litigation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just need to let me just write down.
Please, I'll write this stuff down so that if you guys know people who need my services, and I always tell people, whatever I don't do, I have a great referral for it.
I'm sorry, Jenaye.
Y'all looked at me because I did the thing.
Yes, Janessa. You can't be flashing us on this podcast.
Oh, y'all didn't see that then. I did not flash.
I told you. I passed it along to Janessa. It used to be.
It used to be Kellie. Now Janessa doing it. Lord have mercy.
I ain't flashing.
No worry.
Leave Rudy. You stay
Personal injury.
Personal injury, expungement, and small business litigation.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's all right.
I don't need anything expunged. Personal injury. The way this traffic look like in Atlanta.
Amen.
You I guess what am I trying to ask? When you went to law school, is that what you studied, or is that just like a basic? How does that work?
No, when you go to law school, you learn the whole gamut of everything. So family law, property law, contracts, civil procedure. You learn all of that because, of course, in order for you to pass the bar, you have to know all of those things.
Gotcha.
So you learn the basics essentially. And then, like I would say, the heavily practiced areas. So like family law, you couldn't pay me $1 million to do it. It's too much of a headache, too much drama. But there's a lot of people who do it because, you know, people are getting divorced every day. People are having kids out of wedlock. People trying to get their kids legitimized. And child support is always going to be a thing. So we do learn about family law. But as far as like personal injury stuff, like specifics like that, no, not really. You'll learn about torts because that's the broader subject. So that's the broader subject. So yes, we learned about personal injury in a sense, but not like car accident specifically, but like slip and falls. It falls under the category of torts. So yes, I took torts in law school.
Man, I should have called you for my
your toe.
No, I did that at home, but Jenaye, at my job a couple of years ago, I fell through the deck. Like the wood had rotted out, and me and my
wow. So that would have been a workers' comp case. So I don't handle workers' comp, but I have a great referral for it. So, like I said, whatever I don't do, I have an amazing referral for it. And he is the bomb. Like I've seen him work miracles. So that's the thing. Like when I graduated law school, my dad was like, "So, you know, don't limit yourself. You can do everything." Yes.
Right.
Essentially, I can. But I just feel like trying to be the jack of all trades, it kind of limits you in being able to be, you know, a master at one thing or, you know, a few things. So like I said, personal injury is my bread and butter. That's where I spend the most of my time and research. But I still do expungement pulls at my heartstrings because I always wanted to do something to kind of give back to the community. And then small business litigation, you know, I graduated with my bachelor's in business. My dad is a small business owner. So before I started getting a lot of clients in PI, my dad was my first client, you know, taking people to court who didn't pay him on his contract because he's a contractor and all his friends who own companies. So that's how I got into the other two. So, yeah.
I can't get there.
I
said, I can't wait till we get to that conversation about dad.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I was getting ready to go. About speaking of your father,
right?
What even qualifies you to be on this show today is your father.
Don't forget, I got to talk about how I started my business too, but we'll do that at the end.
Oh, well, we can do it now if you want to.
Yeah, you could, because you said you wanted me to close with that, but I think Janessa had a question, and so we talked about other stuff.
Okay, I got you.
No, we're good.
No problem. So let's talk about your PK life. So we're gonna talk about even just growing up in church in general. Because even before that, I knew that you were just say a PK in reference to your father or even parents. I knew you because of your grandmother.
Absolutely.
The elder. Dr. Elder. Y'all got to get her name right.
Overseer.
Maxine. So for those of us who don't know.
Hunt.
Okay. I need y'all to start at the beginning.
I'm going to say this in the most respectful way that I can. And Jenaye, this is to give you the temperature of what this podcast is about. Yeah. But in my opinion, her grandmother was the baddest bitch in New Beginning. Full gospel.
For real though.
For decades.
And I mean that with the utmost respect. You hear me? Like, but she was the overseer at our church in the beginning that we grew up in. She was
Minister of Education.
Yeah, I mean, she was. You go ahead. You took it. Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Wait, before you start, let's go back. So, can we talk about how y'all know Jenaye first? Can we get into some?
Yes, because y'all don't know me through my daddy. So y'all know me through
right.
Can we talk about how she was invited onto the podcast with Mr. Rudy? How you know?
I'll say mine real quick, and then I'll let Janessa go. So really quick, like I said, her grandmother is Elder Dr. Overseer Maxine Hunt. Which she held a high position at New Beginning. She sat on the pulpit, looked fabulous every Sunday. So this, like, she was a staple in our church. You know what I'm saying? Like, she could have almost been considered the first lady, if you will, that's just not married. You know, like, as far as like the woman who has the most authority, dominance, kind of, if you will, that was her. And she wasn't a mean person. It's very, like, loving. Her and my dad were good friends, and so one of her granddaughters is Jenaye. And Jenaye also has other siblings, but the one who was closer in our age range is her. And so she was around, quite a bit because of, her grandmother. And so we got to know her and the family and stuff like that before they, we all kind of went our separate ways because obviously we're PKs, but before they went their separate ways. And so that's kind of how I built my relationship with her, just knowing her even just from childhood, that being her grandmother, all at New Beginning.
Got it. Mine is similar. Same, New Beginning, we know each other, but the difference is my dad, before he became a pastor, worked for New Beginning as the business manager. And so Jenaye's grandmother and my dad worked very close together, whether it's like the church business side or the church ministry side. They worked very close together. And so, like Rudy said, Jenaye, her sister Brittany, and your brother too. I would see him every blue moon.
Yeah.
They would be around, whether it be choir, usher, steps, or something, we would just see them or whatever. Auntie Normal taking us on a trip or something, So yeah. And then to your point, Rudy, because I didn't even think about it. Like, for us to be PKs, we all had to kind of go at some point. We kind of did leave relatively at the same time, give or take a couple of years. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
I never even thought about that.
Right. My grandma was like, but we hear PK. She like, what?
I was like, wait a minute.
Kellie, about making sure things are clear on the show.
Right. I was like, wait a minute. I got all deep and excited. I'm like, I'm
lost.
Me and the 500 million lost. We lost. Bring it back.
Kellie heard there was other royalty besides her. She was like, who is this? Who is this Maxine you speak of?
Queen Maxine. Okay, we talked about. No, but let me tell you what I thought was funny, because last week we had talked about unmarried pastors, and we talked a lot about your pastor at New Beginning being unmarried, and so to hear about this unofficial first lady, I'm like, oh, look at it, we didn't talk about and I'm like, that would have been a good conversation last week. We didn't even talk about was there a first lady in place, even though he wasn't married. So I kind of thought about that too when we were talking about it.
Gotcha.
I need to meet overseer Dr.
Most certainly needs to meet
the bad.
How is she doing?
She's doing amazing. So she was actually living here with my parents she came back. So she was living with my uncle in Texas when she came back from my wedding. Never left. So she just moved back to Texas like 6 months ago. Yeah. So she's been here because I've been married 4 years. So yeah, essentially 3.5 years, and left us 6 months ago to go back to Texas. So she's doing great. We kept her busy with the kids. I know. She'll be back, I think, in April or May. So maybe we can try to, connect because I know your parents would love to see her too.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
And Kellie, we're trying to figure out how you can meet her. Right. It's a wealth of information. She graduated from Emory. She has her PhD. She's just an astounding person. educationally, but just as a person, period. She's kind, she's humble. Like, she's just the dopest grandmother, period. We call her Gamma.
I love it. I feel her spirit in the podcast.
We call her Gamma.
Shout out, Grandma, Gamma, Elder, Overseer, everything. All the titles, Doctor,
exactly, Minister of Education,
everything.
Shout out to her. Kellie, she's bright skin. So
she like my sister complexion.
Yeah,
my mom.
Okay. And everything else, everybody else that sat on the pulpit was brown, so you could not miss her.
Right. Yeah.
So my father, at the time we were going to New Beginning. So my dad, I don't know if you guys ever knew this, but he's a black cowboy. So majority of my childhood, my dad rode horses. He actually had a horse club.
In Atlanta?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wow.
In Ellenwood.
I needed to know this. Okay.
Ellenwood.
He had a horse club. Still rode stables. Yes. He owns horses still to this day. He actually raced his horses. He was always in rodeos. We always went to rodeos as kids. So yeah, we have like a whole black cowboy family. Like seriously. So yeah, he's not into it anymore. I mean, not anymore. He is so, but not as much as he would like to because he's now in ministry full time. But when we were at New Beginning, he was doing that a lot, and also of course had his construction business that he's had since I've been here on earth. So I would say he was not fully committed to the church in any way. He would come with us every now and then. But like you guys said, you guys don't know me through my father. You probably, if you saw him today, you probably wouldn't even know that was him because you guys would see him much. He would come maybe like Easter, maybe during the holidays, something like that. But then my daddy turned his life over to the Lord, and he took us from New Beginning, and he, took us to Wally Jackson's church. So we were at Wally Jackson's for a good while, and then he did his I forget what they call it, his initial sermon, whatever they call it.
Trial sermon.
Trial sermon. So he did his trial sermon at my grandmother's. So his mom she was a pastor at the time that we were at Wally Jackson's church. So her church was literally 2 minutes from Wally Jackson's church.
Oh wow.
So we would go over there sometimes after church. And I think one Sunday, she's a prophetess. And she told him that he was going to preach the gospel and one day take over her church. And so he had his trial sermon. And I think maybe 2 years after that, he took over the church. His
mother's church.
His mother.
Okay.
He took over her church. She had a small church. She didn't really have many members, maybe 3 to 5. She's older. But she allowed him to take over the church. He changed the name to Walking on Water Ministry. Her name was Anointed Nation 9, and the Lord came to him in his sleep, gave him this deep revelation about walking on water. I'll never forget it. He said the bed shook. My mom is a witness. All these things, and he gave him Walking on Water Ministry. And so my dad still has it to this day. We have had several locations, and currently in Fairburn. So that's kind of the story of how we came from New Beginning to my dad actually owning his own church and me essentially becoming a preacher's kid.
So 2 quick questions. How old were you when you became a preacher's kid?
I had to be 13 or 13 or 14.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Like 7th, 8th grade. Yeah.
And then Elder Dr. Overseer. Mom's mother.
That's my mom's mother. That is correct.
Got you. So your mother grew up in church.
Yeah.
Okay. And then your dad did not grow. Did he?
My dad did grow up in church. He most certainly did.
He did. Okay.
He did. He most certainly grew up in church. But he just went his own way and did his own thing. My dad didn't have a father in his life, so he had those issues.
Okay.
So he did his own thing. Always been, a go-getter, hustler, a businessman. But he essentially just, did his thing and then turned his life over to the Lord. Yes, he would have to be in his late 30s, early 40s, I guess.
Okay.
So yeah.
So when you guys left Berean, was your grandmother still at New Beginning?
When we were at
Berean. Was your grandmother still at?
She was. She
Okay.
was still in the beginning. Oh
Okay.
yeah, she was there for many, many more years.
Okay. Okay. Did she have any issue, concern around you guys, your family leaving New Beginning?
A little bit, because everybody knew us. Everybody knew my grandmother. So of course she enjoyed having us there. I would go to the prayer meetings with my grandmother that she would have. I think it was on Friday mornings, Saturday mornings. So she was used to us being there. We had our thing where we would spend a night on Saturday. We wake up and go get us a Hardee's biscuit before we went to New Beginning on Sundays. So we had our little, our thing. So of course it kind of jolted her a little bit, because my dad all of a sudden gets saved, and now he's uprooting us. And she just come, here.
Right, stay here, right?
But that wasn't where he felt the Lord was calling his family to be.
Okay. So what about your mom? How did your mom? I'm a psychologist by nature, so
I love it. Honestly, my mom probably was just in a place. I'm only guessing because I was young, but I would think that she was really grateful, because with the cowboy life, rodeoing and late nights and stuff like that, I think she was just really grateful to have a husband who was ready to commit himself to the Lord and finally take leadership in the home. So hey, if you want to take us elsewhere, I'm game. If it's going to change you, internally, inside out, and you can take, the leadership that I've been waiting for you to take in the household, whatever it takes, I'm good.
Amen. Amen.
So when your father started the church or took it over from your grandmother, and you said it was like 3 to 5 people. So like that first to second year, how was that for you? Because you weren't a PK. So you go from just living however you was.
Thank you for asking me.
Girl, these are the questions that we've been wanting people to ask.
Decades ago. I was really distraught, because you gotta first think, I'm so used to New Beginning. We know everybody. They have an amazing, at the time, I trust they still do have amazing youth ministry. We had Girls to Godly Women. We had
they still have a youth ministry.
I trust that they do. I was just saying, it was as amazing as
they still have a youth ministry.
They still have a youth ministry. You can take the amazing.
Hey. I think I caught what you were saying.
Yeah. Amen. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, we stayed busy at New Beginning.
For sure.
I remember the big family fun day. So it was like to go from that to be uprooted from what your normal was to go into, an unfamiliar place. That was cool. I'm like, okay, still, a decent size. Like, they were kind of an emerging church. So not too far from what I was used to. But then to take me from there, and I don't think that we were there really long. I think maybe a year and a half before we joined. I think we joined my grandmother's church first, if I remember correctly, before he actually became a pastor. So I was like, no, we're joining this church, and my dad's like, you get this, like you said, Janessa, my dad give us all this stuff. We like, Jesus, what, so he's like, Lord, has spoken. This is where we are to be. This is where we are to grow. And I'm like, my sister had just come of age to where she was in college, so she stayed at I don't know why I want to say Creflo Dollar. That's where my daughter goes to daycare, but she stayed at Wally Jackson because she was doing the news, like how they have the little Wally Jackson news. I forget what.
Oh, gotcha.
Or whatever. So she was living her best life, but I'm close to my sister, so I'm like, dang, like I gotta come here kind of alone, and my brother. So it was hard for me, to come from, to have all those changes, and to have a ministry that not have one, to sit in church, for hours, because they very old school.
Right.
Not in and out. So it was really a challenge for me. And then when my dad actually opened up, his own church, we were at church way more often. So it was an adjustment. I will say that I did find joy in singing. I've always loved to sing. I've been singing since I was young. I actually was laughing, asking my paralegal today if she knew this one song, because she's a singer too. She's in seminary. I was like, that was my first lead at New Beginning.
What song?
I remember. I think it's "Oh Heaven is my goal. I mean heaven." Y'all remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yes, that was my first lead at New Beginning, and I had to be all of 10. Like, And so I was just like reminiscing, on those days. But anyway, I love TV.
Well, I actually want to before we continue on.
Yeah, this y'all show.
With your dad's church. I want to go back for a second to when you were at New Beginning with your grandmother being who she was. Was there ever any pressure, like for y'all, or like for you specifically, or even your siblings, or just as far as being, even though you weren't directly a PK as far as your father, but you definitely were not only a PK but connected to,
right, someone high up in the church,
sure.
who actually you could identify and know we were her grandkids.
Right.
Not really. Like I always tell people, because there's a stigma about PKs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And me and my sister always laugh, and we're like, "Oh, for real, we're not those PKs." Like,
right?
We don't have to put on a facade, or we don't have to cover up. Like what you see is really what you get. So I didn't feel like it was really much of a challenge, because I've always loved to, talk to people, be kind towards people. It wasn't a hard thing for me. So no, I would say, who I am, I was who I was all the way through and through. Now, my brother maybe, because he was always the one who you kind of had to make sure, get him straight or whatever, make sure he was not making a fool of us family. But as far as for me and my sister, no, it wasn't really much pressure. It really wasn't.
What did y'all feel pressure to, like, as far as the New Beginning specifically, to be active with the youth stuff, like, or do you feel like when y'all got there, y'all just kind of, because how old were you when you got to New Beginning?
Because my mom and them, they were at Thankful. So
okay.
Yeah, so I was
from the beginning.
From the beginning. So I think my family had been apart before I was born.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think New Beginning came into existence in 90.
Yeah, because it was Thankful first. And
right.
Yeah. So it had to be the baby. If I was the arm baby.
Gotcha. So I guess I didn't realize that. I guess because maybe I don't remember. I remember Thankful as being a thing, but I don't really remember.
I don't either.
You know what I'm saying?
But when you hear Thankful, that's part of
right. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So
going back to your father's church, and especially being that you were the only one, was there pressure there on both sides? It could be the whole perfection thing, but even if not that, even to help out, because you have this father who has this vision, who has this small ministry, was there pressure to be hands-on to help, that vision?
Absolutely. You got to know my father, my dad, and that was one reason why. Hindsight, I was really glad I did not stay here for law school, because I feel like my dad would have been like, you gotta know my dad, okay? I love my father. He is the best father ever. Like, I call him like the TDJ. He's like the TD Jakes. Like, I always do this comparison, like me and my best friend. Her dad is like Joel Osteen. My dad is TD Jakes. And I say that because, her dad is, it's gonna be okay. And my dad is like, this is what it is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Just raw.
Right.
And I love that. But he is also like, I don't know, I want to say manipulative, but my dad has a way to be persuasive. Like, I think you can make it. I mean, if you really look at it this way,
right.
And I'm like, no, I'm going to be exhausted. I see the time
Right.
So I didn't want that pressure. I'm glad I didn't have that pressure on me while I was here, while I was away in law school, because I didn't live in the state. At times I felt like my dad would put the pressure on us. Like if we felt like we did 2 outside engagements for him, like we would have to come and sing. He would love for us to sing before he preached. I'm like, we've done 2 this month.
Right.
The third one, like you really going hard. Like really slow. So I don't know if we're gonna get to this, but I want to say it because it's on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But when my husband played for the church, of course, us dating and then getting married, my husband always knew we were never going to join. My husband, he loves my father and they have a great relationship, but he wanted to keep the roles separate, which I appreciated because he was smart. So my sister was married first, and her husband and my husband are tight. So because of the history of him being there and serving in the church and, kind of like being my dad's right hand and him being my dad, oh man, you can come to the service, second service. Oh man, I thought you had my back. Oh, I thought, and knowing the history, my husband, he was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna just keep these roles separate. And not only that, he comes from Creflo Dollar. My husband was kind of raised up in Creflo Dollar's church. My dad's teaching and his teaching are drastically different. So one thing I love about my husband will be very frank and very respectfully frank with you. And he was like that with my father. So there was never any confusion as to whether we were going to stay, when we got married. But my dad, being my dad, thought that enough conversation would smooth that conversation over and we would stay. And it didn't happen. And my dad took that very hard. My mom, really had to, do a lot of talking and rubbing his back too. I think maybe just about a year ago, he's kind of stopped like having conversations about it and like not making jokes about it. Like I feel like he's finally okay for the most part now.
So I have two questions real quick. So your sister, when she got married, well, I guess before she got married, because she stayed at Wiley Jackson's church. So she never really had any close ties to your father's church.
No.
Is that what you're saying?
That's true. Okay. She did not join until college. So she was in college when she joined Wiley Jackson, but she didn't want to join my grandmother's church. But when my dad opened the church, because my sister has always been, I call her the angel child. And then you have me, I'm the wild child. Then you got my brother, he's the rebel. So that's the way I look at it. So if my dad opened up a church, she's going to join, period. That's her dad. That's our dad. So she joined as soon as he, opened up the church, and she brought like two of her girls from college with her. So they would come Bible study night. My sister started singing on the praise team with us. So she eventually joined the church and, of course, became vested, started serving and doing all of that. So yeah, she met her husband while she was there, while she was at my dad's church.
I sound like I need to go to your dad's
church.
Did
they go there to meet men?
Right.
Does she
follow? No, she didn't go to him at church. No, she didn't meet him at a church. She met him. She met him at a job she was working at.
I was like, she met him at the church.
She didn't meet him at the church.
But she was a member of the church, and that's and the members at Walking on Waters are walking down aisles.
Look, very true. We are literally marrying off the last core of our circle.
Come on now. Come on now. Come on now.
Baron, that ain't nothing but down the street. Listen.
This is a true statement, Rudy.
Come on now. Walk on water.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, does your sister go to church, to your dad's church now, or did they go to their own separate thing too?
So, okay. So they're kind of in transition now. So no, not really. But they don't belong to another church. So kind of in limbo, yeah.
I'm asking because that's something me and my boyfriend have talked about. I thank God for my sister every day that she went through things before me. So Jessica's a little different because her husband is a minister, but he's not a pastor. Like they met, Jessica and Lionel met they were both in grad school at Princeton. He was getting his master's of divinity and she was working on molecular biology. So for them, Lionel kind of had his own upbringings in church. He had his own ideals, his own. And I completely understand it. And I think my dad did too. Like there was never any issue. So when Jessica got married and they don't attend my dad's church, they go actually to Lionel's pastor's church. There wasn't any issues. In fact, Lionel's pastor.
Follow our husband.
Lionel's pastor, and at Jessica and Lionel's wedding, Bishop Morton and Pastor Darius Daniels, that's Lionel's pastor, actually did the wedding together. And, like Bishop read some stuff, then Pastor Daniels read some stuff, and then there was like a homily and everything like that. But
you gotta stay together when two pastors do your wedding. Like,
come on, huh?
I said you gotta stay together
when two pastors do your wedding.
When two pastors do your wedding, that's
Bishop Morton and Pastor Darius Daniels did my sister's wedding.
That's blessed.
But me and my boyfriend have had those conversations too, and
so are you at your dad? You're still at your dad's church?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
still at my dad's church, and I'm heavily active. My gosh. Heavily.
And where does your boyfriend go?
He goes to Brian. Kellie's
Wow.
Kellie's dad, uncle's church. And I mean, I don't have any problems with Brian because, you know, grown up, that's family. I mean, just literally Kellie's dad and uncle are family friends of my parents. So that's not an issue. If we got married and we decided we wanted to go to New Beginning, I mean, Brian, that's what we're gonna do. But that also
that's been decided.
Well, it's also contingent upon where we live because we want to be really active. You know, I grew up very active in church. And it just kind of depends on where we live. Because if we're down in like Griffin, I'm sorry, we're not gonna make it to Panola. We're not gonna make it. So that's something we have to keep in mind. But I'm very interested that, you know, your dad felt some type of way about it. I thought that's interesting. My dad, from what I've been told, was okay with it. So it's really interesting to hear, you know, the differences between it.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't think that my dad would because you know, of course, the word is like, you know, when you get married, your husband kind of, you know, leads you to
leave and cleave.
Yeah, leave and cleave, and then your husband, wherever he goes to church or, you know, chooses for you and your family to go to church, you follow. And my husband was always very clear about that. So I guess my dad, being who my dad is, thought that he could, you know, do some good, strong, persuasive talking and it worked. But the
difference, though, I would say between me and Jessica is kind of like your sister. By the time we got to New Piney Grove, Jessica was like 14, 15. So she, you know, she only had to deal with it for like a couple of years and she was out.
Right.
And then, you know, after college, she went to New Jersey for grad school. So, it, you know, her disconnect was much more than mine.
Right.
Which
she wasn't at
full time.
You're vested. You're heavily involved. Heavily. Yeah. And for me, I will be honest, it was a thing for us in premarital counseling. You know, I was not wanting to leave. I thought that, you know, we could make it work where we could compromise, where we at least stay, you know, a year and a half, give my dad some time to prepare himself or mind or segue out of my responsibility at the church, which was I sang still. So, you know, but he was just like, you know, no, I think we should just go ahead and make that move. I made that clear. So, and for me, it was important that my husband receive the word and grow in the word because he is who is leading me. And so I feel like women, we adjust very quickly. You know what I mean? We'll go really anywhere and grow and get our word, pray, whatever. But for me, being a new wife and my husband being at my dad's church for a good while, playing keys, and I just felt like he essentially wasn't receiving the way that he used to. So it was time for him to be fed the word. Now you have a whole life, you have a family, all those things. So we collectively found a church together while in our engagement period. And to God be the glory, we found a church both of us equally love.
That's great.
That doesn't always happen. You have one spouse that is absolutely in love and one that's just okay. So we fell in love with it's called the Faith Center in Tucker, Georgia. And we absolutely love our church.
I appreciate you saying that. Just because I was wondering how easy it was for you to move from your father's church, seeing that you were so heavily involved. And so when you said, and because that's your father, like,
and I'm a girl.
Yeah, me too. And so, but I don't go to my daddy's church now, so it's not an issue.
Oh wow, you do.
She said that's Janessa's boyfriend, not me.
All the time, I thought she went there.
But no, and we'll talk about that later. But when you first started talking about it, I kind of forgot that I didn't go to my dad's church because in my mind I was just like, my husband says he doesn't want to go to the church. I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, but I also heard you say, you know, as a wife, you let your husband lead and you do what your husband tells you to do. And as I want to be a wife in the future, I heard that word, but I also appreciate you talking about that though in marital counseling. That was something that you guys had to discuss. That it wasn't just okay, you know, I'm gonna leave my father, I'm gonna leave my church, I'm gonna leave these responsibilities and follow you. But that was something that you guys had to discuss.
You most certainly had to discuss it.
Right, because even as you talked about it, I'm like, oh, how would I feel if my husband didn't want to go to my father's church? Like I said, then I remembered I'm
right. But I'll be completely honest too, Kelly. I was at a place and in a season where I was ready for a change.
Okay.
My dad is very old school and traditional. My dad is he was a powerful man of God. Powerful man of God.
Oh, okay, powerful man of God.
And he is amazing at the altar. Like the Lord really speaks to my father and he really uses him. But when it comes to like preaching, my dad is very traditional. So I'm like a point type person. I like the 3 points. I like you preaching from 1 or 2 scriptures and you flesh it all the way out. My dad will give you 10 or 15. He'll give a very powerful message. It'll be 2-3 hours, but it's like, Daddy, give him a cliffhanger. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, it's the constant extended version. So I was kind of stagnant, honestly, in my growth. And I had been for a good while. And so I felt the need to, honestly move on. But that's like a lot of things in life. You should go, or you know that your growth is being stunted, but it's just the comfort that you have being amongst your family.
Right.
Coming and going as you please, or just the familiar relationship. Nobody get on you if you're a little late. We're supposed to get 8:30, we come 8:45. All of those things.
Right.
Singing with the same people for umpteen years. We have this gel, we have this harmony. All of that. So I think it was more so of me leaving from what was my normal, or leaving from, what I essentially knew for so many years. And it was just really just that alone. But that wasn't really substantive, because at the end of the day, why are we really there? We're there to grow in Christ. We're there to mature in Christ, all of those things.
Right.
And I really wasn't, honestly. I was
going to ask you this.
For the departure eventually.
Right.
I was going to ask you this because this is something at one point I felt like I was dealing with my dad being the pastor of the church. You get, especially when I was still living at home, I recently moved out. So I'm in my own house. But before, I was still staying with my parents way longer than most people probably would. But I just felt I got too much of my parents. Like I would get my dad from the pulpit on Sunday, then I would get him at Bible study. But then if something's going on in my personal life, he's my dad first. So then I would get the dad version Monday through Friday or whatever. And so it just got to a point where I needed to separate them. Like, I love you as my dad. You are an amazing pastor to thousands. But in terms of me, and I know that I'm in this unique situation because I'm your child, kind of like you, like I need to be able to grow. But also one of the things that I'm hoping to look forward to, whenever I do leave New Piney Grove and, me and Chris, we get married, we go down that journey, finding another church, is like, I want to be able to talk to my pastor about, if me and Chris going through arguments, we need counseling. I need to be able to talk to them, but I don't need to be talking to my parents because my
come on, Janessa, preach.
That for me. Okay, my dad's not gonna hear not one thing.
You hit all the hot buttons tonight, girl. For me. So my dad, literally, so that's one thing he has not gotten over. So, like I said, about a year ago, I feel like it's about a year now that I feel like he's kind of okay with the fact that with us not being there. Still hopeful we coming back. He's like, I know y'all just over there to learn and get all that information. Come on over here and build this youth ministry up. I know I'm good. And I'm like, okay, Daddy, maybe that is the goal. That I don't know what God has.
Right.
I leave it there. So he's turned into a joke and he kind of leaves it. But he still is really bothered and hurt that me and my sister did not allow him to do our premarital counseling.
Oh,
and my dad like, wait, are you for real? I'm like, you're for real, because this has been going on for so many years. He was like, yeah, like I think about Pastor X, Y, and Z, and they at least gave their father the opportunity to choose who they wanted to marry them. I said, that's too much control. I said, Daddy, listen, let's put this to rest. I've heard this long enough. I never So if you thought it was my husband,
it wasn't him. It
Right,
was
right.
I would never, ever want you to do my premarital counseling. That is weird to me.
Right.
I don't see why. I can be unbiased. I can. I've counseled so many couples. I mean, you hear such and such them talk about how they love me and your mama, how they got them through. They're like, she's like a daughter. She's not your daughter.
Right.
And I will say, even with that, Jenaye, because I've thought about like who I would want to do my premarital counseling, and I've thought about other pastors that I know that are family friends. But honestly, I don't want them to do it either.
Right.
And Kellie, no offense, like I was thinking, because okay, I know this is crazy, y'all. So of course, in a perfect world, I would want Bishop Morton to marry me if I got married, you know. But we know he's getting up there in life. So if it wasn't the case, and I never wanted my dad to marry me. I wanted my dad to be
to walk you down the aisle.
You're gonna be my dad. That's it. You're gonna be my dad on my wedding day.
Exactly. He wanted to do dual. He felt it was possible. No, sir. That's not what I envisioned.
Right.
So I said if I wanted Bishop, but if Bishop's not able to do it for whatever reason, who would I want to do my wedding next? I always said Kellie's uncle, Pastor Lee. Good, very close friend to my father, very close friend to me. However, and even though I know he wouldn't do this, in my head, I can't undo it. I just feel like, they'll get on the phone and they be having their man conversations, and just like girls talk, men talk. Y'all don't like to admit it, but y'all do be talking.
It happens, yeah.
But again, like I really don't believe Pastor Lee would ever do anything like that for real. It wouldn't be a problem. That's just my own thoughts. And so I've been trying to figure out, well, who would I want to do my premarital counseling? Because I would personally just want somebody who does not have a tie to my family or
absolutely,
because that's gonna be weird.
Absolutely,
like, you literally came to like my third birthday party,
like seriously. And so speaking of premarital counselors, we actually went through like friends and family members that we knew that were married, that we kind of like, saw their marriages and, thought well of them. And we asked them who they went to. So the first couple, we didn't know them at all, of course. And they were cool, but her husband was constantly on the road and he had a thick accent. So it was hard for my husband to connect with him. So we didn't do them very long. Like, y'all, we went through like 4 or 5 because premarital counseling is very important.
It's important.
And because, my husband had been married before, we have a blended family. My husband has, have stepchildren, all those things. It was important that we have a good premarital, we have good premarital counselors. So then I found another couple, and I just felt like the wife was siding with my husband a lot because they had similar lives. And I just was like, she's not really
giving an unbiased.
Yeah. And so we cut them short. Then after them, we went to, I feel like we had one more. I can't really remember. And then finally, we chose my husband's mentor, him and his wife. So I was like, but they know you though. You know what I mean? And he was like, yeah, but let's just go out with them. You'll see, like, they are like, they'll give the unadulterated truth. Like, you'll love them. They're not like that. I'm thinking. So we went to Top Golf and, we went to eat with them or whatever. And I was kind of guarded because, I'm just like, hey, listening to them. And the wife, she said something to me that was so profound. And she, from that day forward, she always said, drop major gems, revelations on that. And I love them. They married us. But she was like, so what's your hesitation? If you having it, I was like, I always envisioned myself being with someone who didn't have kids. I'll be honest. I said, so me and my husband, I've broken up with him a million times over because I'm like, the chemistry between him and I is like, it's to die for. Chemistry is not something that you get a whole lot. And we had it like instantly, even the way that we met, I didn't even tell the full story, but it's just like, it was something about him. And I'm like, but the kid thing. So I couldn't shake it. And then finally, I was like, then it's just like, at this point, I'm like, well, whatever. And she was like, who are those kids' blessings? And I was like, I never looked at it that way.
She said, "What if you said what if you're those kids' blessings?"
She said, "What if you're those kids' blessings?" Because I was telling her some of the challenges that I was having with the twins, and I was just like, they're great girls, but I just feel like this, I feel like that, And she was like, "But what if you're their blessing?" And I was like, you know what? Maybe you're right. Like, I need to get over myself, you know what I mean? And be here for these girls because, essentially.
Well, now you just minister a whole word. We'll talk after.
We'll talk. We got each other numbers. So we'll do that offline because you got to be a little cautious when you talk,
publicly.
How many stepchildren do you have?
So I wasn't going to talk about that on here, but since we're here, I'm just kidding. Because that's something that I had to kind of like get over because my sister was like, "Well, who's asking that all the time?" Like before I got married, I'm just like, I don't know. I just feel like it's so embarrassing to say. My husband has 5 children before me. He had a set of twins, and he has 3 others, 2 baby moms. So one his ex-wife. He has twins with his ex-wife. And then he has 3 from a young lady from high school.
Do any of them live in the house with y'all?
So the oldest boy lived with us for a short period of time. So they're all grown. They're all practically grown. So he has the twins they'll be 18 this year, and then the youngest boy, he's 16. So he's in sports, has his own business doing photography and stuff. So we see him pretty much like every Sunday because my husband, he does baseball training with him. And he's booked and busy. But the twins, we get them every other weekend because my husband, when I met him, which was another reason why I, really thought the world of him, he had his twin girls like through the week, and their mom got them essentially like Thursday through Sunday. So they split the week, but he had them Monday through Thursday. And when he was playing for our church, he would bring them, have their bags packed, snacks, whatever. So he was like a single father in my eyes, and was a great father. So and he taught them a lot. He raised them, their mom did hair, so she worked a lot, but the responsibilities were shared. But my husband was a very active, involved father.
Gotcha.
So no, they don't live. They stay with us for the summer. The twins do because according to their divorce decree, they stay with us every summer, but they come every 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
They every other week, every other weekend.
Yeah. Right. Gotcha.
They live in Local Grove, so.
Yeah, we'll talk after.
Well, before we close out, let's get back to your business. So tell us the story about how you started your business.
So here is the story. So when I decided to launch my firm, I knew that I was gonna launch, but I just didn't know when. So I talk about after the young lady I was working for, who I was independent contractor with. She closed her firm down maybe like a year and a half to us working together. So I had met a guy at a CLE. He's a Nigerian guy, super smart. So I had basically went to lunch with him, told him that I needed to bring my cases under his firm. He allowed me to. But then it was like, how when you start off something and it's like you're taking a chance on me, but then you prove yourself and it's like I'm a moneymaker for you. When you change this contract up.
Right.
I got pregnant, and then
yesterday's price ain't today's price. Okay.
So and he was kind of like, yeah, we'll work it out. And so we essentially worked it out. But then I just was like, I think it's my time to start my firm. So I notified him, and he really didn't have much to say, and I was kind of shocked because he was a big brother, like my mentor. So then, when it came time to part ways, things started to get a little different. And so I was like, okay, God, this is interesting. I don't know if I'm going to have his backing, his mentorship anymore, which I felt was very important and key with me starting my firm, still being fairly new. So that was one thing. So then after that, we had just recently purchased our home. My husband was working at Chick-fil-A corporate. My husband is an audiovisual engineer. So all is well. My daughter's first birthday is coming. We moved in the house. We have a big first birthday party the week before my husband loses his job. Wow. So I'm slated to open my firm, March of that year.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, God,
because this is the pandemic, right?
Yeah, well, the pandemic was on the horizon. It hadn't come. So my daughter's birthday is in January. We moved into our house October. My husband lost his job the week before our daughter's first birthday. And after that, the pandemic, you started hearing about what was happening over in China, but it hadn't hit yet. So then I'm like, okay, whatever, still focused. Then I have these chest pains unexpectedly, go to the emergency room. They lasted for almost about a week. They said they couldn't find anything. It was probably stress related, have to do a stress test, EKG, all of these things. The week after that, I woke up with a swollen foot. Unbeknownst to me, it comes from walking on hardwood floors barefoot, because we're just in our new house. I'm walking on, we didn't have hardwood floors, came from carpet, and I forget the name of it, something tendonitis, and I had to get an injection and have a partial wrap. Had to keep it lifted and elevated for a full week.
Yeah.
All of these things are happening, and then the pandemic hit. So I'm like, okay, Lord, do I launch or do I wait, or what? Right. And my pastor was doing a series called Jump. And so, we all hear about the leap of faith, but he was doing jump, basically like jump on out there. Don't leap out there, like jump out there. Right. So because he was doing a series, a series is week after week.
For sure.
So constantly each week I'm hearing the word and it's feeding my spirit, and constantly I'm like being encouraged and becoming more confident. Like, no, the time is now. Like God said, yes, God confirmed it. He is not a man that he shall lie. He doesn't turn back on his word. So you're going to move forward on this. He's going to carry you the rest of the way. So, of course, shaking, in my knees, heart tremble, all these things, I pressed forward, opened up my firm. And the month after that, I opened up my actual physical office. No one was there. There was one lady who was like one suite down from me. I would see her. We would say, hey. There were other businesses, but they had shut down, closed down. The future was uncertain.
Wow.
And then the end of that month, I leased my first car through my business. Had only been open for a few months.
Wow.
So taking all these leaps of faith with an uncertain future. So that's why when I first came on, I'm like, open up on April Fools, but the only food made was because, I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't know how all this was going to pan out. I didn't have the backing of my mentor anymore. Him and I, it was kind of funny. He and I are back talking now. But at the time, I just felt like I was out on a limb. I was all by myself. So yeah, I have hit 2 years in a row.
He was walking on water.
Yeah, walking on and not to get the foundation. But we settled over $1 million in settlements for our clients.
Wow. That's amazing.
I have 3 employees. I have 2 or 3 independent contractors that work for my firm.
Wow.
So God has been so good, and I'm so grateful.
Congratulations, man. Congratulations.
Congratulations. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
I was just gonna say, I follow this guy, King of Solomon. He does these daily prayers, and I love it. And what you said kind of confirmed one thing he wrote, and he was talking about waiting on God, and he said, one thing I've learned is I've learned that God will do what we can't do, I've learned that God will do what we can't do, but he will not do what we won't do. And I feel like what in that moment is, you could have been like, it's a pandemic, been kid, the house, it's a lot going on, whatever. But if it wasn't for you doing your part, God came in and did what you couldn't do. He came in and did the leases, the clients, the building, the whatever things that you may not have had the money or funding or whatever to do. God just made it happen.
Uncertain, God made certain for me.
Yeah, so Jump was a whole sermon. Okay,
it was like, I never forget it. I can never forget it.
It's still speaking.
It's still beautiful.
Yeah.
Seriously,
beautiful.
Well, this whole time I thought y'all were PKs. Y'all parents are preachers' parents. Y'all ain't preachers' kids. Y'all, these are the ministers right here. Because Janessa and Jenaye been on fire. They doing dual weddings like Bishop and they tag teaming.
Right.
Me and Kellie over here just getting hit.
Right. We just getting fed. We just getting fed tonight. I'm with him. I receive it all.
Look, I need Jenaye to be on the podcast more often because she comes with facts, okay?
Right.
she's my type of person. I come with Bible scriptures and facts. Okay? I don't come with scholarly theologians.
You said you don't come with what, Janessa?
I don't come with scholarly theologians. Jesus.
And we in this seminary, baby. We in this seminary. We just know.
Right.
Shots fired.
Oh, Terry, I still love you, Terry, but you know, scholarly theologians.
It's a good balance. I hate I didn't get to meet him. I would love to meet him. I'm sure
the conversation would have gone different.
Very different.
Yeah. We'll have you back on just a regular topic. A regular topic.
Right.
It gets interesting.
Yeah.
What platforms are you guys on? I need to follow y'all.
We're getting Jenaye feeling the spirit. Like she already know what's next. Like we was just
running.
I just want to follow y'all. Wait.
And we
on
got you
social
covered.
media, on Instagram, you can follow
us. Church announcements.
Right.
There we go.
PK. Now, Jenaye, I'm in charge of social media. So blame it all on me.
This the Instagram though. This it's a little bit different on Facebook. I mean, on YouTube.
Fine.
I'm sorry, on YouTube.
But yeah, this is the Instagram page where you can follow us. Please follow us. I'm gonna do better.
At the worst ones PK.
At the worst ones PK on Instagram. So in terms of watching the episode, watching the podcast, you can watch us on YouTube. Or you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Apple Podcasts.
I changed it. Yeah.
Right.
I know you. I thought you was boycotting Spotify, so I changed it.
Well, I said Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcasts. So we legit. We real out here in these streets. Find us at the Worst Ones Podcast and make sure when you get there, you like, you comment, you share, and you subscribe. Thank you to our 500,100,003 followers. We just got Jenaye.
I am following
and one because Jenaye.
All right.
I did 3.
Follow
I'll follow you back. But thank you. We love you. Follow us. Watch us. Personal page at Princess Kells 51.
It's locked though. It's still locked.
It's locked. It's private.
Pray for
Jenaye, if you follow me, girl, I'll accept it. I'll follow you back.
I'm about to follow you now.
Okay. I don't really post there either, but follow me. I'm gonna do better with social media in the next quarter.
I need the girl.
It's all right. Well, y'all can follow me.
Catch me next quarter too. I'll be better.
Y'all can follow me at Melanated Brews for all things coffee, tea, and beer. We have fun over there, even though we haven't had fun recently. But to my defense, I broke my toe. I cannot go to coffee shops with. I can. Let me not lie.
No excuses.
I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna go somewhere tomorrow. There we go, and I'll post about it. And then for my personal page, you can follow me at JRihanna _, and that's that.
All righty. Shout out at Terry Wayne Comedy, Terry Wayne in his absence. Hopefully he's okay. We have
no idea.
We don't know where he's at, but we'll give you a report next week. And then for myself, I don't be on my personal page no more. So the podcast official page is the other podcast that I host that Kellie forbid me to put my logo in the background of. So follow us over there. Follow us over there as well. And then we also have for you, Miss Peterson.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you got it. Because I was asking her.
I think you're
He's muted. Oh. You're muted, Jenaye.
You gotta unmute yourself.
Can you unmute?
Jenaye, you're mute. You're on mute.
We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. That is my business page. Janessa was texting me, and I'm like, yes, I have a business page. That is me. Yes, I'm gonna do better about posting too. My life gets very busy at times, so I don't post as often as I should, but I do have some stuff there, so you can check me out. My website is JM Law LLC jmlaw.com as well. So you can check me out there. jmlaw_LLC.com.
Remind them the type of lawyer.
My areas of practice are personal injury, small business litigation, and expungements. Give you a second chance at life.
Check her out, y'all.
Wait, let me make sure this is correct. JMLaw.
Yes, that is correct. That is my website. Please go there and check it out. And I need to add my promo video on there. I'm very proud of that. But it is on my
Instagram. Yeah, I seen it. Yeah, that was dope.
Yes, thank
dope
you.
Stuff, dope stuff. Absolutely. Well, Jenaye, you have been absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely.
You're definitely tied, probably even maybe first place at this point. I told another guest that they were my favorite guest, but I think you might have taken the cake. I'm not gonna lie to you. It was actually the episode that you watched. So there's that.
Okay, yeah, was really giving the business.
He had a different perspective from us. It was good. Yeah,
she did, because I said, well, let me ask myself that question. I said, I even had a whole conversation with my mom about it. I was like, Mom was listening to it. She was like, what is it about? Did you ever listen? And I was like, I listened to a snippet, and she was very adamant about like how she would be lying and say she wasn't jealous. And I said, Ma, I don't know if it's your love just overshadowed like Daddy not coming to everything that we had, but I don't feel like, him not being at everything that we have caused me to love him any less. Like, I only remember my dad being active in my life and always giving wisdom nuggets and, taking us on, vacations as often as he could. Like, he made up for the time lost, but my mom was like a stay-at-home mom a good bit of our life. She would work in HR here and there sporadically, but then she would be at home helping my dad in the business, but then care for us. My mom is a natural born nurturer. So I'm like, I don't feel that, when dad has to do things, I don't think I lack in that area.
You about to start a whole other podcast.
Listen,
I'm about to start a whole other podcast.
Because I'm over here like, she's still going to the spirit.
But this is what the podcast is for, because even though we have a shared experience as being preachers' kids, our experiences are similar and different at the same time. So sorry, Kelly, I looked at you.
Sorry, Kelly. I started going to tangent about it.
No. I mean, that was great, and has inspired me to do my job more in social media. To hear that that 30-second clip caused you to have a conversation with your mom, like I said, and you
come on, Holy Spirit.
So that that I feel like that what we're doing is really sparking some conversations and touching people. I'm gonna do what I need to do.
Walking on water.
Do what you need to do. Get on post, Kelly. Get on post,
right? I think that's what I needed to hear.
Hey,
I appreciate that was
Jenaye, you are definitely the best guest. You are definitely number one guest now. Absolutely.
Man,
undisputed.
Look, I'm having a word that I don't even realize.
That was
Well, anyways, thank you guys for listening. We'll talk more in the second service. We gotta do a night service or something after this.
We gotta get the food in the back.
Right. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for watching. We will see you next week. We out. You gotta hold them 2 fingers, Jenaye.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.